It's early morning, it's cold, and I'm out here photographing this beautiful winter landscape. In my backpack, I kept things simple. My Hasselblad X2D, the 20-35mm wide angle, and the 35-100, that versatile everyday zoom. That's it. All of my other lenses left at home. So here's the big question: with just these two lenses, do I finally have a complete landscape kit? Or am I going to miss something when it really matters? Let's find out. I think this is going to be my first composition of the day, but I think I'm going to go for a wide angle here, because I would like to have that moon in the frame as well. And now I'm shooting on 35mm and I'm shooting expand mode, and that's not wide enough to get the moon in, so I'm going to swap my lens. So after taking the first shot with the 35-100mm, I want to switch things up. So now I got a really wide one. I'm shooting in 20mm now, and the other one was on 35. Maybe it's better to have that tight compression, or maybe I should leave the moon in and then have the wide angle image. Which one do you prefer? Have a look. So this one is shot with a 35-100mm at 38mm. It gives a slightly tighter composition, a bit more compressed, but we lose the moon in the frame. Now, the next image is taken with a 20-35mm at 20mm. That gives us a much wider, less compressed perspective. And honestly, I think I might prefer this one. The scene feels more open and the moon becomes part of the story. I decided to keep the wide angle on the camera while I look around for new composition, just a few meters from the previous spot. Talk about being spoiled. This time I'm drawn to 3 rocks right at the water's edge, bathing in morning light of the sunrise. It's one of those scenes that almost frames itself, and it feels absolutely perfect for another panorama. I really like how the colors are now. They're kind of really beautiful. Like bluish, kind of pinkish, all those kind of cliche colors. And I'm shooting long exposure to get the water kind of smoothing out around the stones. Not too long, but a few seconds exposure should be enough here. And I'm looking for the calmness and stillness in this image. And I'm having these 3 stones just in the front, and then in the background this vast landscape with these beautiful colors. I put on an ND filter, ND8, so it gives a bit longer exposure just because I want the water to smooth out a bit more. And the light is going up as well, so it's becoming brighter. So I'm just taking it a bit down. To create a bit more movement in the water, I'm using an ND filter. That allows me to choose a longer shutter speed, even in this bright morning light. Here, you can see an exposure at ½ a second. There's still quite a bit of structure in the texture in the water. You can feel the movement. And here, I've increased the shutter speed to 4 seconds. Now, the water becomes more smoother, more washed out, less detailed. It completely changes the mood of the image. I had to admit, the 20-35 is probably the favorite for the kind of landscape I like to shoot. There's just something about that wider perspective that fits my style. Anyway, I carefully make my way forward, sliding across these icy rocks. At this point, my walk probably makes me look about 20 years older than I actually am. But hey, that's what happens when you're not willing to take any chances. Not with my precious body, and definitely not with a very expensive camera gear.
like the sun is really coming up now, and the light is really gorgeous. You have this blue, whitish snow, and then you have this glow of this warm yellow sunlight. So you can see over there the sun is coming up, and if you look over here, you can see it's quite cool, that tree over there that's fallen down. So that's probably going to be my next subject, I guess. How to take a photograph of that, especially now in this really gorgeous lights. So I guess it's official that the morning light is out and the daylight is on. But I really like this one because the sun is so low now, so it kind of gives this really cool lighting effect of that tree. So that's what I'm photographing now, and especially how this they have the snow on top of that tree. It kind of makes it stick out from the background again. That's what I like. It's kind of nice to have the sun back. It's been quite cold, you know, my fingers are frozen. And if you've been out photographing during a cold winter day, you know what I'm talking about, when you have the fingers that don't really work, and it's just a hassle just to flip up the screen because your fingers are stuck and frozen and all that kind of stuff. And everything goes so slow, you know. Finally, the sun has come up and is warming the landscape a bit, but it's also warming up me. So it gives me a bit better mood, you know. So, but I'm gonna walk around and try to do some more photographs before I head back to the van to warm myself really up, you know. Well, it's good to be alive on these kind of days. I mean, what more can you ask for? Cold, yeah, but the sun is warming up, and it's beautiful nature. There's not many people around taking photographs. I like the beach during the summertime, but the beach now during the wintertime ain't bad either. Almost as good. Well, a backlit tree. There's always something I want to photograph. So I'm gonna go down to a f-stop quite low, f16, f11, something like that. That's because I want the starburst in between those branches. You can see the sun is coming through, and I would like to have a starburst, you know, just to make it a bit more, I don't know, a bit more starry. If that's even a word. But anyway, I'm shooting on a square format here to make it a bit more arty, as I always say. And I'm going quite low because I would really love to have this kind of long shadows in the frame as well, or in the composition. So I'm going all the way almost down to the snow and then shooting straight on. And the thing is that the snow is probably going to be blown out, especially here when you have this really bright light, you know, and the shadows are going to be really dark. But I like that kind of contrast. I don't mind if it's going to be blown out, you know, and maybe it would even work in black and white. Let's have a look.
The 35 to 100 mm and the 20 to 35 mm together really do make my kit feel complete. They cover everything from wide angle to short telephoto, which is pretty much perfect for landscape photography. But as you probably know, we photographers are rarely truly satisfied. There is always something missing, and if I'm being honest, the only thing that might be missing is a long telephoto lens. Yeah, I guess I just have to save up for a year or maybe 10. And if you're new to this channel, I'm a photographer trying to reconnect where it all began, landscape and nature. If that sounds like your kind of thing, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.